Hello, my name is Dorothy. I am a student of English. I want to tell you about my journey, how I improved my spoken English by first listening and then speaking. I was shy at first, but everything changed when I found a simple way to practice. I want to share my story with you, step by step. You don't need to know big words to start speaking English. You just need to listen with your heart, and your voice will follow. Let me tell you my story in a chapter's form. Chapter 1. Silent. Learning first. Train your ears. Before you train your tongue, my name is Dorothy, and my English journey did not begin with speaking. It began with silence. I still remember the day I sat alone in my small room, looking at my English books, feeling lost. The pages were full of words I didn't know. The grammar rules confused me. I had tried reading out loud before, but I sounded strange to myself. I felt shy. I felt afraid. How could I speak a language when I didn't even know how it sounded? One evening, I stopped trying to speak. I put my books away and decided to do something different. I opened a video on my phone. It was a simple English story with subtitles. I didn't plan to talk. I just wanted to listen. I watched the story quietly. A mother was talking to her child in English. She said things like, "Are you hungry?" and "Let's go outside." Her voice was soft. The words were simple. I didn't understand everything, but I liked the way she spoke. Her voice was kind. It didn't scare me. It felt safe. That night, I watched 3 more videos. I didn't take notes. I didn't speak a single word. I just listened. And for the first time, I didn't feel pressure. I didn't feel like I was failing. I was just listening. And that was enough. From that day on, I made a new rule for myself. I would listen to English for 30 minutes every day without trying to speak. I called it my silent time. During this time, I didn't talk. I didn't read. I didn't even try to repeat the words. I just let my ears do the work. I listened to stories, short conversations, and simple YouTube videos. I found children's, cartoons, English songs with slow lyrics, and even English audiobooks made for beginners. At first, I didn't understand much, but that didn't stop me. I still listened every day. Sometimes I listened while I brushed my teeth. Sometimes I listened while walking to school or washing dishes. I didn't care if I understood everything. I just wanted my ears to get used to the sound of English. Soon, something strange happened. I started recognizing words without thinking. I would hear, "I'm tired," and I knew it meant someone needed rest. I would hear, "Let's go," and my brain understood it meant someone wanted to leave. I didn't memorize these phrases. I just heard them many times. They became part of me. It felt like magic, but it was not magic. It was practice. Just like a baby learns language by hearing it again and again, I was learning English in the same way. I was not speaking yet, but I was learning how the language lived, how it breathed, how it moved. I was training my ears. And here's something important. During this silent time, I stopped worrying about grammar. I didn't care if the sentence was present tense or past tense. I just wanted to hear how people really spoke. I wanted to hear the music of their voice, the rhythm of their words. Sometimes I heard short questions like, "Where are you going?" or "Do you want tea?" These were not the big, complicated sentences from my English book. These were real sentences from real life, and I loved them. They felt useful. They felt human. After a few weeks, I noticed that I could even guess what people were saying before the subtitles appeared. I was still quiet, but inside, I was growing. One evening, I was watching a short video where 2 friends were talking. One said, "Let's meet at the park," and the other answered, "Okay, see you at 5. I smiled because I understood it all, every word, and I didn't need to look at the subtitles. That night, I realized something. Listening is not passive. It's powerful. It is the first step in speaking. You cannot speak well unless you hear well. You cannot say the right things unless you know how they sound. Listening helped me hear how words connect, how people use short forms like gonna or wanna. No teacher ever told me these things, but real people did, just by talking. Sometimes, I listened with my eyes closed. I let the voices go into my ears like music. I listened to their emotions. Were they happy, angry, tired, excited? I learned not just the words, but the feeling behind the words. That was real English. Then came a day that changed everything. I was standing in a coffee shop, waiting for my drink. Two girls beside me were talking in English. They were laughing and speaking fast. Normally, I would not pay attention. But that day, something inside me said, "Just listen." I turned my ear slightly and focused. One girl said, "I'm so tired of this weather," and the other said, "Yeah, I need sunshine." I understood them, not just the words, but their feeling. I smiled. I didn't say anything, but in that moment, I felt like I belonged. I felt like I was part of the language. That small moment gave me courage. I went home and opened the same video I had watched weeks ago, the one with the mother and her child. I watched it again, but this time, it felt easy. I understood almost everything. I didn't feel confused. I didn't feel small. I felt strong. My ears were now trained. I could hear English and understand it naturally. I didn't need to translate in my head anymore. The words went straight to my brain, like they were my own. And then a new feeling came to me. I wanted to speak, not to show off, not to pass a test, but just to say the things I had heard. My mouth was quiet for so long, but my mind was full of English. I had listened for weeks. Now the words inside me wanted to come out, but I didn't want to start with hard sentences. I wanted to speak in a way that felt natural, just like the people in the videos I had been watching. I didn't want to read from a book. I wanted to copy real life. I wanted to talk like real people. So the next step in my journey was clear. If I wanted to speak like real people, I had to learn from real people. I had to listen to real conversations, not just clean lessons from a classroom. I had to hear how friends talk, how families laugh, how people make mistakes and still speak freely. Chapter 2. Copy real conversations. Speak the way. Real people. After weeks of silent listening, something had changed inside me. I was no longer scared of English sounds. I had trained my ears. Now I could hear real words, feel real meaning, and even guess the mood of the speaker just from their voice. But the more I listened, the more I realized. I wanted to say something. I didn't want to just understand. I wanted to speak, but I didn't know how to start. I didn't want to say the wrong thing or sound strange. Then I remembered something. When I was little, I used to copy my mother when she spoke on the phone. I didn't understand all the words back then, but I would copy her tone, her voice, even her laughter. I would walk around holding a toy phone and pretend I was having a conversation. I was learning by copying. And that same idea came back to me now with English. I thought, what if I don't try to speak my own sentences yet? What if I just copy real people? That small question became my next big step. I went back to my favorite videos, the ones with simple, real conversations. This time, I did not just listen. I paused the video after each sentence. I said the sentence out loud, just like the person in the video. I copied their voice. I copied their emotion. If they sounded excited, I tried to sound excited too. If they sounded sad, I tried to feel the same sadness in my voice. I was not just repeating words. I was learning to speak the way real people speak. At first, I felt silly. I was standing in my room talking to my phone like a parrot. But after a few days, it felt normal. It even became fun. I wasn't making up my own words yet, but I was learning how the words felt in my mouth. I was learning the rhythm of real speech. One day I played a video of two girls planning a movie night. One said, "Want to come over at 7?" And the other answered, "Sure, I'll bring popcorn." I paused the video. I said both lines out loud, pretending I was both girls. "Want to come over at 7? Sure, I'll bring popcorn." I laughed at myself, but then I said it again and again. And slowly it started to feel natural. That's when I noticed something important. The English I was copying didn't sound like textbook English. In school, we learned sentences like, "Would you like to visit my house this evening?" But in real life, people said, "Want to come over?" It was shorter. It was smoother. It was real. That made me realize I had to stop trying to speak like a textbook. I needed to copy real conversations. Not formal ones, not perfect ones, but everyday ones. So I made a new plan. Each day I chose one short video clip with a real conversation. I listened to it 5 times. Then I paused after each sentence and repeated what I heard. I tried to sound just like the speakers. I copied their tone, their speed, even their little mistakes. And slowly, my mouth started to move more easily. After a week of doing this, something amazing happened. I went to the grocery store with my cousin. She was speaking to the cashier in English. They were just having a short talk. "Hi, how are you?" "I'm good, thanks. Want a bag?" "No, I'm fine." It was so short, so normal. But I had heard these exact words in the videos I had been watching. I knew them. I had said them. I had copied them. And suddenly I wasn't just watching English. I was living it. When we left the store, I said to my cousin, she said, "Want a bag?" instead of, "Do you want a bag?" That's what I heard in my video too. My cousin laughed. Yeah, that's how people really talk. That moment made me feel proud. I was starting to understand real English, not just classroom English. And I was beginning to sound like a real person when I spoke, not a robot reading from a grammar book. I kept going. Each night I picked one topic. Ordering food, asking for help, making plans. I searched for short videos or conversations around that topic. I listened. I paused. I copied. One night, I found a video of a girl calling her friend. "Hey, what's up?" "Not much, just bored." "Want to hang out?" "Sure." "Your place or mine?" I loved it. It was casual, natural, full of life. I copied the whole call out loud, playing both voices. I laughed while doing it. It felt like acting. It felt like fun, but it wasn't just fun. It was training. My tongue started to move faster. My voice sounded smoother. I didn't have to stop and think about every word. The phrases started to live inside me, and then I took it one step further. I started to use those phrases in my real life. One afternoon, I saw my friend Lena at school. She looked bored, so I smiled and said, "Want to hang out later?" She looked surprised. "Hey, you're speaking English now?" I nodded. "Just trying." We laughed. We made plans. And just like that, I had used one of the copied lines in a real conversation. It worked. It felt natural. It didn't feel forced. That gave me more confidence. I started looking for more places to copy from: TV shows, short podcasts, street interviews, even cooking videos. Anywhere I could hear real people talk, I paid attention. I learned phrases like, "Sounds good to me." "I'm not sure. Let me think." "Hold on a second." These were not grammar book phrases. These were phrases people actually used, and I copied them every day. I even started keeping a little notebook. I called it my Real Talk book. Every time I heard a cool phrase, I wrote it down. Then I practiced saying it out loud. Some days I practiced in front of the mirror. Other days I whispered the phrases to myself while walking. I didn't care if people thought I was strange. I was learning. I was growing. Soon my family noticed the change too. "You're speaking more clearly now," my mom said one morning. "Your accent is getting better," my cousin added. I smiled. It wasn't magic. It was repetition. It was copying. It was practice. And still, I didn't worry too much about grammar. I just focused on copying real sentences. Because here's the secret: when you hear and repeat real conversations, You start to learn grammar without even thinking about it. Your brain picks up the structure naturally. One evening, I was practicing a video with the phrase, "I'm gonna be late." I repeated it several times. Later that week, my friend texted me, "Where are you?" I replied, "Sorry, I'm gonna be late." It came out naturally. I didn't stop to ask, should I use present continuous or future tense? I just said it, because I had heard it, copied it, and now it was mine. That's the magic of copying real conversations. You're not memorizing rules. You're living the language. And soon, something new started happening. I didn't just copy what I heard. I started creating my own short sentences based on what I had learned. I began mixing the phrases, like building blocks, from "wanna hang out" and "I'm bored" I made "I'm bored." "Wanna hang out?" From "I'm not sure" and "let me check" I made "I'm not sure, let me check." I wasn't inventing new words. I was reusing real words in my own way, and that felt powerful, because now I wasn't just copying, I was communicating. But I knew I couldn't stop there. I had learned a lot by copying real conversations. I had gained confidence. But I needed to take one more step. I needed to practice speaking freely, even if I didn't have someone to talk to. That's when I discovered something even more powerful than copying, talking to myself, and that's exactly what I started doing next. Chapter 3, Mirror Talk Magic. Build Speaking Confidence. Alone. It was a quiet Saturday morning when I stood in front of my mirror and looked at myself. The house was peaceful, my room was bright with sunlight, and for once I felt calm. I had just finished a full week of copying real conversations. My notebook was full of everyday phrases. I could hear English in my head, not just as a subject from school, but as something I had lived and felt. But I knew something was still missing. I could repeat what others said. I could act out scenes from YouTube. I could sound like someone else. But could I sound like myself? That question stayed in my mind. I realized that even after all this practice, I had not truly spoken freely, not even once. I had not made my own sentence from my own thoughts, without a script. I had not spoken to myself in English. I had not asked myself, how do I say this? I was still scared of making mistakes. I was still afraid I might say something wrong if I didn't have a model to copy. I still didn't feel like I owned the language. That was the moment I decided to try something new, something strange, something I had read about once in a language blog. Mirror talk. I remembered the idea clearly. Talk to yourself in the mirror every day, the writer said. It will change your confidence forever. At the time, it had sounded silly. Why talk to a mirror? Why speak to yourself? But now it made sense. The mirror was safe. The mirror wouldn't laugh. It wouldn't correct me. It would just listen. It would let me be me. So that morning, I took a deep breath, stood in front of my mirror, and said my first full sentence in English, by myself, for myself. Hi, Dorothy. How are you today? My reflection smiled back. I felt shy at first. My voice was soft. My English sounded unsure, but I answered anyway. I'm okay, a little tired, but happy. I looked into my eyes in the mirror and continued. What did you do this morning? I ate breakfast. I had toast and tea. It was simple, childlike even, but it was me. I was speaking without copying. I was thinking and talking, in English. And just like that, something changed inside me. For the first time, I felt in control. I wasn't waiting for someone else's line. I wasn't reading from a screen. I was speaking from my life, my thoughts, my real voice. So I kept going. What will you do today, Dorothy? Maybe I'll go for a walk. Then I'll read my English book. My sentences were short, but they were full of truth. I didn't worry about grammar. I didn't stop to check. If my tenses were perfect, I just spoke. And with each sentence, I felt stronger. It became a daily habit. Every morning, I would stand in front of the mirror for 5 to 10 minutes. I would ask myself questions and answer them. At first, I talked about simple things. my plans, my feelings, my breakfast. But soon I started going deeper. Dorothy, why do you want to learn English? Because I want to travel. I want to meet people from other countries. I want to watch movies and understand every word. The mirror became my best practice partner. It never interrupted me. It never judged me. It just listened and let me try. After a week, I noticed my voice was becoming clearer. My sentences were becoming longer. I was using more of the phrases I had learned. And something amazing happened. I started thinking in English. I would wake up and think, what's the plan for today? In English. I would open the fridge and ask myself, what do I want to eat? In English. I would look outside and say, it's sunny today without even thinking. The mirror had helped me move from practice to real life, and it didn't stop there. One afternoon, I was feeling sad. I didn't want to do anything. I sat on my bed, feeling down. Then I stood up, went to the mirror, and looked at myself. What's wrong, Dorothy? I feel lonely. Why? Because I don't have anyone to practice English with. I want to talk to someone. My own voice comforted me. I kept talking. I said, it's okay. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. And in that moment, I realized that mirror talk wasn't just about language. It was about kindness, about confidence, about being brave enough to speak your own truth, even when no one is watching. Each day, my conversations in the mirror grew richer. I pretended to order food. Hi, can I get a coffee and a sandwich, please? I pretended to ask for help. Excuse me, can you tell me where the bus stop is? I even practiced giving advice to a friend. Don't worry, everything will be okay. Just take a deep breath. The mirror became my stage, my classroom, my comfort zone. And the more I practiced, the more I believed in myself. Sometimes I even recorded my mirror talks on my phone. At first, I didn't like how I sounded, but I listened anyway. I laughed at my own mistakes. Then I tried again, and each time I got a little better. One night, I looked at myself and said, Dorothy, you're doing great. And I believed it. I started giving myself small challenges. Tell me about your favorite movie. Explain how to make tea. Describe your best friend. Each challenge pushed me to use more words, more emotion, more real-life language. Didn't memorize scripts. I lived them. I noticed I was using phrases I had copied in the past, but now they came naturally. They weren't just words I had heard. They were words I owned. My mirror talks became more creative. I started telling stories, pretending I was in a cafe, imagining a phone call, talking about my dreams. Someday, I'll go to New York. Someday, I'll speak English without fear. The mirror made me feel seen, even when I was alone. It made me brave enough to try. And soon I began using English outside the mirror too. At the store, on the bus, with new people, because mirror talk had prepared me. It gave me the words. It gave me the courage, and most of all, it gave me my voice. Now, whenever someone asks how I built confidence in speaking English, I smile and say, I practiced every day. I talked to myself. I started with the mirror, and they usually laugh. Really? Yes, I say. The mirror helped me become my own teacher. But the mirror was just the beginning. After weeks of talking to myself, I was ready for something bigger. I was ready for a new kind of practice. I was ready to speak with a real person. And that's where my journey led me next. Chapter 4. Pause. Echo, speak. Use the listen and repeat method. Like a pro, the days after my mirror talk routine felt different. I was no longer the same Dorothy who only wished she could speak English. I was slowly becoming the kind of person who did. Every sentence I formed in front of that mirror gave me strength. My voice was louder, my confidence was stronger, and my words no longer hid behind fear. But even with all this change, I still wanted more. I wanted to sound natural. I wanted to speak the way people really spoke, not just the way textbooks taught. I had started noticing something. Even though I could form my own sentences and talk freely with myself, my English still felt a little slow. Sometimes when I watched English videos or listened to podcasts, I could understand them, but I couldn't keep up. The speed, the rhythm, the pronunciation, it still felt like a puzzle that was missing a few important pieces. Then one day, I came across something new. It was a short video of an English teacher online. She said something that stayed in my mind. Don't just listen. Pause. Echo. Speak. That's how you learn to talk like a native speaker. Pause. Echo. Speak, I whispered to myself. It sounded simple, almost too simple. But something inside me said, try it. So I did. I opened one of my favorite English YouTube channels. The host spoke slowly and clearly, and she often used real-life topics like shopping, school, or daily life. I picked a video about ordering at a restaurant. I had watched it before, but this time I was going to try something different. I grabbed my notebook and headphones. I pressed play. Hi, how can I help you today? The woman on the screen said. I quickly hit pause. I looked into the mirror next to me and repeated it. Hi, how can I help you today? My first try wasn't perfect. My voice went up in the wrong place. My help sounded too soft. But I tried again. Hi, how can I help you today? This time, I tried to copy her voice, her energy, even the way her face moved when she said it. Then I pressed play again. I'd like a cheeseburger and a soda, please, the customer said. Pause. Echo. Speak. I'd like a cheeseburger and a soda, please. I said it out loud, just like him. And then I continued. One line at a time. Pause. Echo. Speak. Pause. Echo. Speak. The technique was simple, but it worked like magic. By the end of the video, I had spoken every single line out loud. I had not just listened. I had spoken with the video. My mouth had moved like theirs. My voice had followed their rhythm. I had echoed everything I heard like a parrot, but with purpose, and something amazing happened. I started feeling the language. My brain was no longer just thinking of individual words. It was thinking in chunks. How can I help you today? Became one flowing thought. I'd like a cheeseburger became a natural request. I wasn't translating from my native language anymore. I was thinking in English. I loved how it felt. It was different from reading a script. It was different from mirror talk. This time I was learning from real voices, real speed, real tone, and I knew I had found something powerful. So I made it part of my daily routine. Each morning after my mirror talk, I chose a short video or podcast. Sometimes it was a conversation. Sometimes it was a news report. Sometimes it was just a funny scene from a TV show. I would put on my headphones, grab my notebook, and begin, pause, echo, speak. If the sentence was too long, I would break it into smaller parts. I didn't rush. I didn't worry if I had to pause 10 times for one sentence. What mattered was that I was training my mouth to move like English does. I was teaching my voice to match the flow, the stress, the music of the language. And I started to notice real changes. I was faster. My pauses during speaking became shorter. My words sounded more natural. I wasn't just thinking about grammar. I was thinking about sound. Even my pronunciation improved without me realizing it. Before, I used to say want to as two words. Want and to. But after listening and repeating enough times, I started saying wanna, just like in the videos. I didn't even plan it. My ears had heard it so many times that my mouth just followed. It was like learning a song. When you hear a song enough, you start singing it without even trying. That's what happened with English. One day, I was walking to the store, and I saw a child drop a toy. I picked it up and said, "Here you go." I paused. Wait, I thought. That just came out naturally. Here you go. It wasn't a sentence I had planned. I didn't stop to translate it. I had heard it so many times in videos that my brain simply knew when to use it. That was the power of listen and repeat. It taught me not just what to say, but how and when to say it. My favorite time to use this method was in the evening. I would sit in bed with my headphones and pick a short scene from an English movie. I didn't watch for the story, I watched for the voice. I watched for the sounds. "Are you okay?" The actor would say. Pause. Echo. Speak. "Are you okay?" I would even copy the emotion. If the actor sounded worried, I would sound worried. If the actor laughed, I would smile too. It became more than just learning words. I was learning emotion, tone, life. Some days I didn't feel like talking. I was tired or busy, but I reminded myself, just 10 minutes, just one video, just one conversation, and I always felt better afterward. It was like a workout for my voice. Every repetition made my speaking muscles stronger. Soon, I started to do it with songs too. I would listen to slow English songs, pause after each line and sing it back. Let it go, let it go. Pause. Echo. Speak. Even when I didn't understand every word, I repeated it anyway, because I trusted that my ears were learning, even if my brain hadn't caught up yet. And slowly, everything came together. The mirror talk helped me build confidence. The copying of conversations helped me speak naturally. And now, pause, echo, speak was helping me sound real. One day, I had to make a phone call to a company in English. I was nervous. It wasn't something I could practice in the mirror. It was live. But I took a deep breath and thought of all the videos I had echoed. I remembered the phrases. "Hi, I'm calling to ask about. I'd like to check on. Thank you so much for your help." And I used them. I didn't freeze. I didn't panic. My voice was steady. My rhythm was clear. When I hung up the phone, I smiled. I had done it. All those hours of pausing, echoing, and speaking had paid off. My voice no longer sounded like a beginner. It sounded like someone who lived in English. And the best part? I started helping others. Some of my classmates were struggling with speaking too. They were afraid to open their mouths in class. They kept saying, "I can't speak fast. I don't sound right." So I told them what worked for me. "Try this," I said. "Pick a video, listen to one sentence, pause it, repeat it, then say it again until it feels right." They looked unsure at first, just like I did, but some of them tried it and they came back smiling. "Dorothy, it really works." I felt proud, not just for myself, but for all of us. We were learning how to train our voices by listening first. That's when I truly understood something important. Speaking is not just about grammar or vocabulary, it's about rhythm. It's about habit. It's about copying the music of a new language until it becomes your own. And pause, echo, speak was the perfect way to make that music stick. It wasn't always easy. Some days I stumbled, some days I got lazy, but I always came back. Because every time I did, I grew a little more. And slowly, the girl who once whispered in the mirror was becoming the girl who could hold real conversations, with confidence, with fluency, and with joy. But there was still one more step ahead. Had trained my voice in private. I had spoken with screens and mirrors. Now it was time to speak with a real person, to take everything I had learned and use it live. And that's what came next in my journey. Chapter 5. Small circles, big growth. Join speaking groups. That don't judge. After all the hours I had spent talking to mirrors, copying real conversations, and repeating every line like a song, I felt like I had come a long way. My voice had changed. My words were smoother. My ears were sharper. But still, one part of me held back. I had never truly spoken with another person in real time. Not my teacher, not a classmate, not even a stranger. Every conversation I had practiced, was safe. It was alone. And now, the thought of using English in front of real people, live, unplanned, and unscripted, made my stomach twist with nerves. Still, something inside me kept pushing. I had trained enough in silence. I had echoed and mirrored and practiced. It was time to speak with people, real people. But the fear was still there. What if I make a mistake? What if they laugh at me? What if I freeze and forget everything? These questions swirled in my head each night before bed. Even after everything I had learned, this final step felt like a mountain I didn't know how to climb. Then, one Saturday afternoon, I was watching a video on my phone. It was about a girl who improved her English by joining an online speaking group. She said something I'll never forget. I wasn't fluent. I was scared. But in that group, everyone made mistakes and no one laughed. That's how I found my voice. I paused the video and stared at the screen. Everyone made mistakes and no one laughed. I wanted a place like that. A place where no one judged you for speaking slowly. A place where you could forget being perfect and just practice. That night, I searched online for English speaking groups. There were so many. Some were big with hundreds of people. Others were small with just a few. I wanted something small, something safe. I found a group called English Circles. Their message was simple. Practice speaking in small, friendly groups. No pressure, no judgment, just real people helping each other. It sounded perfect. I signed up for a beginner session that was happening the next evening. I almost backed, out at the last minute. My hands were shaking. My heart was racing. I kept telling myself, you can always turn off your mic. Just listen. You don't have to talk. But deep inside, I knew I wanted to talk. I had come too far to stop. Now, the next evening, I sat at my desk with my laptop. I had my notebook and a glass of water next to me. I clicked the link, and the video screen opened. There were 5 faces, 5 people from different countries, some older, some younger. Some smiled nervously, just like me. The host, a friendly woman named Tasha, smiled warmly and said, "Hi, everyone. Don't worry about being perfect. Just be here. Just try. That's all we ask." Her voice made me feel better right away. She didn't speak too fast. She welcomed each person and made us feel like we belonged. We started with small introductions. When it was my turn, I felt my heart jump into my throat. "My name is Dorothy," I said softly. "I am learning English, and I want to speak better." I heard a few people nodding and saying, "Good job, Dorothy," and "Nice to meet you." That was it. No one laughed. No one rolled their eyes. No one said I was too slow. That simple kindness felt like sunlight in my chest. As the session went on, Tasha gave us small topics to talk about: our favorite food, a place we wanted to visit, a memory from school. We took turns, no pressure. If someone didn't know what to say, others helped. If someone made a grammar mistake, no one corrected rudely. People smiled and encouraged each other. When it was my turn again, I told a short story about baking cookies with my grandmother. I stumbled a little, searching for the word flour, but one of the other learners kindly whispered, "Flour?" And I nodded with a smile. We all laughed together, not in a mean way. It felt like I had finally found what I had been missing. All this time, not just a chance to speak, but a safe place to grow. After the session ended, I sat there, still smiling. My first real group speaking experience had not been scary, it had been warm. I had felt more connected in that 1 hour than in all my solo practice before, and from that moment, I made it a habit. Every week I joined the English Circle's speaking group, sometimes once, sometimes twice, depending on my schedule. The topics changed, but the feeling stayed the same: supportive, kind, patient. Over time, something started to shift inside me. In the beginning, I would rehearse everything I wanted to say. I would write little scripts in my notebook before each session, but as the weeks passed, I stopped needing them. Words started coming to me on their own. My mind didn't freeze anymore. I wasn't afraid of silence. I had learned that it was okay to pause, to think, to breathe. I also learned how to listen better. In those small circles, I paid attention to how others spoke. I picked up new words, better ways to say things. I learned how to ask questions, how to show I was listening, how to keep a conversation going, and something amazing began to happen. I started to enjoy speaking, not just survive it, not just do it because I had to. I looked forward to it. I even began to speak up in other parts of my life, in class, in the grocery store, even on the bus. My voice was no longer hiding behind fear. It was stepping out, louder and stronger than ever before. 1. Day, Tasha, the host, asked me to help lead a session. At first, I froze. Me? But I'm still learning, I said. She smiled. Yes, you. Because you know what it feels like to be nervous, and because now you know how to help others feel safe. And she was right. I knew that journey, from silence to speech, from fear to freedom. That evening, I helped host my first small circle. I welcomed new learners. I shared my story. I asked gentle questions and gave kind smiles. And I watched as others, just like I once was, found the courage to speak out loud. That night, I cried happy tears, because I realized that speaking English wasn't just about fluency. It was about belonging, about finding people who lift you up, about building something together, one word at a time. And in those small circles, with no judgment and no fear, we all became more than learners. We became speakers. That chapter of my journey taught me something I'll never forget. You don't need a big stage to grow. You need a small circle, a safe one, where mistakes are welcome and voices are heard. And in those quiet spaces, something loud and beautiful begins. You begin.